Okay, so now let us begin. Welcoming all of you for the all auspicious Bhagavad Gita class on this Sunday. So let us quickly offer the prayers and then we will go to the quick recap. So this is Bhagavad Gita and we are trying to complete in the quick summary along with couple of homework which we get, wherein we can go through during the week to different shlokas and make note of any questions which we have, then come back and make use of this class. So let us offer our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So last class we were discussing about chapter 3 and the short form of chapter 3 was tree. T stands for Tyaga, which is presented in between the shloka number 1 to 9, and the further bifurcation of that, T means true renunciation or false renunciation. So that is something which we discussed in the last class. So detachment from possessiveness, detachment from enjoying propensity does not mean stopping activities. And then we discussed about satisfying Vishnu. So most important thing is that, even if we are engaged into something, but the moment we start worshipping Krishna, the moment we start worshipping Vishnu, then everything becomes all auspicious. And any such thing for which we are very much attached or we are very much dependent, our dependence and our attachment will slowly start going away, and we become completely attached to Krishna. Krishna takes charge of our life, our energy, our happiness, and everything. So, two renunciations we spoke about, true renunciations and the false renunciation. R stood for regulated activities. So it is very important to have regulations in place. And we discussed these topics: sinful, sinless, and godless, karma kanda, which is ritualistic and sinless, and then karma yoga. So there are different categories of people who are existing. There are people who are sinful, who are doing all kind of sinful activities, right? Sin means something which is giving trouble to other living entity. Simple as that. Like there is intoxication. People drink and people behave miserably with different people and create havoc in the family. So intoxication is sinful. Then you talk about meat eating. Meat eating is also sinful because we are killing another living entity and eating the flesh and bones and skin and everything of a different animal, which is again the child of the god. Simple to understand. And then you talk about playing this gambling. So gambling is also sinful. Somebody can say, no, we are not hurting anybody, but yes, we are actually hurting people. We try to become rich very quickly, and in turn, because of that, suddenly, if there are losses or something happens, then entire family is troubled, right? The money is lost in seconds. People win in second and people lose in seconds, so it causes a lot of uncertainty and people die, people commit suicide, right? So gambling is also sinful. And then illicit relationship, of course, it is very sinful because it is prohibited in the shastras, and it is called cheating. And then it is something which never satisfies a person. A person can have one wife and be very happy, but at the same time, if the person who is not satisfied, he can have a wife, he can have multiple relationships, and then he can have multiple other affairs and all other nonsense. But the answer will be, person will never be satisfied, and then cause create certain havoc, or create certain actions which will cause havoc in his life. They may get into a lot of troubles, fights, illegal issues, and murders, and lot many things happen. So those things are the ones which we should avoid as much as possible. But if you are not able to avoid anything, whatever four thing I have mentioned, so the good news is that you can start chanting Hare Krishna with more focus, more attention, more number of rounds. So we will not have to force ourselves to give up something. Automatically, that bad thing will go away from our life. But we need to be convinced that those things which I mentioned are the things which are sinful, which create sinful reactions and put us only into trouble. We may think, I am cheating, but that is okay, but I'm enjoying. But then that cheating, whatever we are doing, because of that, there will be a lot of sinful reactions which will come. And that sinful reactions we only will have to bear, maybe in this life or maybe in next life. So in any way, doing sinful activity is not at all a good idea. So regulated activities are very, very important, and that was explained in chapter number 10 to shloka number 10 to 16. One very good example I remember, Amog Leela Das Prabhu gives this example. A kite will fly very high in the sky. A kite can fly very high in the sky until unless the kite is having a string and that string is held by someone. The kite is controlled, the kite is held, so it is flying high. The moment string is broken, whatever it is, how much ever wind it is, the moment the string is broken, the kite will slowly come down and fall on the ground. So if you have to fly high, then we need to have certain regulations which you need to follow. I'm not saying stop eating anything. There are regulations you can have, you can eat, you can go to places, you can enjoy, but don't do anything which is going to breach or which is going to break the regulated activities. And that is the guidance in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 3, shloka number 10 to 16. Then E stood for exemplary, whom to follow, how to lead. And this is something which we are going to elaborate today. And then another E stood for enemy lust. I think in the last class, I spent good amount of time during the end of the class. So if somebody wants to go through, you can again go through that recording and get to know more about this. We discussed about what is love, what is lust, what are the different coverings of lust, where to find and defeat this enemy. So this lust is seated in the senses. So how do we control our senses? How to make wrath in our friend? When we become angry, how can we make that anger our friend? So these are the things which we discussed in the last class. Now let us proceed, seeking the blessing of Guru and Gauranga. If you have any questions, you can stop me before we proceed. All right, so taking silence as no question. So let us proceed with chapter number 4. So today, chapter number 4, the short form is EARS, ears, right? Ears means you utilize ears for hearing. So first E stood for eternal knowledge, and that eternal knowledge is presented in chapter number 4. So if you have Bhagavad Gita in your house, you can, give me a second, I will just move this box down. Yes, what you can do, you can go to this chapter number 4. I hope my screen is visible. Are you able to see this Veda-based screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right, okay. So you see here, we are discussing chapter number 4, and I'm going to show you the shlokas from Bhagavad Gita, right, which is called Transcendental Knowledge. Now, after attending 3 classes, 3 chapters, completing 3 chapters, we understand, what is our position, who is God, what we should do, what we should not do. Couple of things at least we know better than what we were doing in the, before joining Gita class. So today we are going to discuss about the transcendental knowledge, right? Knowledge is very, very important, and it helps a person like anything, right? You may give a person money, that money will be lost, but if you give some knowledge, that knowledge, he will utilize that knowledge and make a lot of money later on. So that knowledge is very important, and today we are going to discuss what is this transcendental. The meaning of transcendental in Hindi, they say divya, and knowledge means gyan, divya gyan. This is the knowledge which is not from this material world. It is divya, it is transcendental. So text 1 itself, Krishna is giving the details. What Krishna says, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. See here, Krishna is giving this shloka. You should all by heart this shloka, very important. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Ivam Vivasmate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivashvanam Manve Praha Manor Ikshvakave Abravit. So this is a very nice shloka where Krishna is telling, I gave this knowledge. See, science of yoga to sun god. So the name of sun god is Vivashvan. So sun god is a position, and currently the position is held by this person called Vivashvan. So Krishna gave this knowledge to sun god. Then sun god gave this knowledge to Manu. Manu is known as the father of mankind. You would have heard about these two people, Manu and Satrupa. When you go to Naimisharanya in UP near Lucknow, there is a place where they say Manu and Satrupa did their, tapasya before starting creation. So they are called father of mankind. This human being came, from Manu and Satrupa. So Manu later on gave this knowledge to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku is none other than from the dynasty of Lord Sri Ram. So this is how this knowledge. And why did Krishna give this to Sun God? Because Sun God was instrumental in this creation, and Sun God gave this knowledge to Manu because Manu is the father of mankind, right? But you see, now people have forgotten about it, right? Now they do not know that we are our first thing. See, this particular shloka clearly defines, it breaks all those logics. Sometimes people argue, right, that Islam came first. Some people say no, 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 Buddhism came first. Like that, they keep arguing. But here you see Krishna is breaking all those, logics, all those tark. Krishna is clearly saying, I gave this knowledge to Sun God. Sun God gave it to Manu. Manu is the father of mankind, right? Even before human beings were created, this knowledge was present. So that is why Sanatan Dharma is the topmost dharma. All right, so let me take you back to the slide, and I will be switching through slide and this particular chapter also. So this we were talking about eternal knowledge, and then this A stands for accurate understanding. Now it is good that we are having this transcendental knowledge, but then the important thing is, do we have the right understanding? Because if we don't understand, then we may not make the best use of it, right? Then third one is reactionless. What is akarma, which is explained in 4.16 to 4.24. And then S means surrender, which is 4.25 and 4.42. Now, the surrender word, sometimes we may think, array, surrender means do I need to give up everything? Right? That can be the misconception. But surrender with Krishna is that, when you surrender to Krishna, Krishna becomes yours. Actually, you become the boss, right? You become the boss. Suppose you have a son in your house, and that one son, he says, he is a very hardworking son. He does all his work, and then he is finally dependent on you. That, my dear mother, my dear father, whatever you say, I will do. I am surrendered to you. I'm doing whatever I can do. But then you are the one who will make the decision. You are the one who will help me. You are the one who will guide me. So just imagine how happy we become, right? And we will be thinking about that son. That son is dependent on me, right? He's not doing on his own whatever he wants. So I will take more care of that son. In the same way, when we become surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna immediately starts thinking about us, 24 bar 7. And then when Krishna is thinking about you, then your life is all blissful. Nothing can go wrong in the life of a person about whom Krishna is thinking. Okay. So that's about surrender. So these, I will be referring through all this. I'm not sure if we can cover everything, but yes, we will try to cover a little bit today, and whatever is left out, we will cover in the next class. That's not a problem. But my request to all of you is that refer these shlokas. You can go to Veda base if you do not have a hard copy. If you have a hard copy, then you should definitely read that hard copy. After offering prayers, and then these shlokas, these purport, you should read at home, and then you will get some doubts, and then those doubts you can ask me in this class. Then this class will become more interactive. Or between the week also, you can send your questions to me, and I will answer. So here Prabhupada is given a very, very elaborate purport. But in the interest of time, I'm not able to go through this, but I request that you all go through this, on your own, and then come back to me with questions. So let us proceed further. Eternal education. 3 points we are going to discuss here. Who can acquire? Second one, from whom should we acquire? And then what is this eternal education? The first one, who can acquire? Right? So not everybody can get this Divya, right? So we may think, oh, it is open to everyone. No, no, it is not open to everyone. How we can get? Somebody who is a devotee, they will get it because Krishna, this will be revealed by Krishna. Then second one is somebody who is a friend. So again, it will be revealed by Krishna because we are friend of Krishna. Then if the question is relevant, not any stupid question. Sometimes people say, I want to know this, I want to know this, why you do this, why you wear tilak, what is the importance of this, why don't you just wear jeans and t-shirt, or so many things. So many questions come up, right? Why do we have to worship Why do you do chanting? So all those are not relevant inquiry. What is relevant inquiry? I will show it to you in one of the shlokas, and then following the instructions. So see, many people come forward and many people show interest. But out of many people, so like when we started this class, there were around 20, 30 people, right, who joined. But then following instructions, when we requested for these classes on a weekly basis, there were very few who came forward. And then finally in the class today, I think there are 3 to 4 devotees who remained. So those are the ones who are the most, intelligent people and the selected ones. They are following instructions, so they are proceeding further. But some people, they talked so many things, big things they spoke, but then they could not come forward. So that Divya Gyan will never be revealed to them. They are lost. So these are the categories, and let me show it to you in the Bhagavad Gita shloka where Krishna is clearly mentioning about this. So chapter number 4, in text number 3, it is very clearly mentioned. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratana bhaktovasi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetu etad uttamam. That very ancient science of relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because, so who is saying? Krishna is saying. He is saying this to Arjuna. What is he saying? Because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Now, if we are not devotee, then we will not be able to understand. We will hear from one ear and we will remove from other ear. We will not even understand. So let me read Prabhupada purport on this, because this is something which is very important. We need to be a devotee. We need to be a favorable person at least if you want to know. If you don't want to know, we just want to challenge, hey, nothing happens. What is this? Why you people worship? Where is God? God is not seen. So many nonsense things. So if somebody does that, Krishna says you can never understand anyways. So there is no point. But then let us see what Prabhupada is saying. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science, owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have the commentaries by the devotees, and some have the commentaries by demons. Okay, now this is very important. So there are a lot of editions of Bhagavad Gita which are available in the market. Sometimes people say Gita gives knowledge, but it is not important that you worship Krishna. Worship and all is not required. You take the book, read, understand, and follow and do it. What can a person follow when the person is not devotee only, right? What, just imagine what interpretation a non-devotee will give to this shloka, where Krishna is clearly saying, Bhakto Sakha, very clearly. Bhakto means devotee, Sakha means friend. Now, somebody who is non-devotee, they will skip only this shloka, because Krishna is very clearly saying, because you are my friend as well as my friendly, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science clearly. So they will have to skip the shloka if they want to do the commentary. Commentation by the devotee is real, whereas that of demon is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So there is one very important term which is coming into picture, disciplic succession, right? So let me show you. Krishna is talking about this term also in previous shloka. So we read first shloka, then we went to the third, and now I'm taking you back to second shloka of chapter number 4. So what Krishna is saying, evam parampara praptam imam rajeshori vidu sa kalaneha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession. How this science is received? Through the chain of disciplic succession. Then Guru will give to his disciple will give to his disciple. Like that, this knowledge is coming. And the saintly kings understood in that way but in the course of time, the succession was broken. And therefore, the science as it is appears to be lost. So nowadays, you see, people do not understand Gita properly, right? Why? Because this chain of disciplic succession is broken, it is lost. And that is why when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, he is recreating that chain. Okay, I hope this point is clear. So first, in first shloka, Krishna told very clearly that he gave this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan. You see here? Krishna gave this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan, which was like crores of years back, around 12 or 14 crores years back, right? So because it was such a long time, this disciplic succession was broken. This here Prabhupada has given this purport very nicely. You all can go through this. So here you see here what Prabhupada is saying. Gita was spoken at least how many? 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 crore years back, 12 crore and 400 years back, right? Just imagine. Now somebody asks you when was the first Gita spoken? So it was, the answer is here. The Gita was spoken more than 12 crore years back, 12 crores and 400,000, right? It is not 2000 years old or 5000 years old. No. Now, because it was spoken long back, the disciplic succession was broken, and that is why people started misinterpreting Gita. And when people starting here, this Krishna is giving disciplic succession. Now, because it is broken, see here, in the course of time, it was broken, and therefore this science appears to be lost. That is why now Krishna is telling this Gita again to Arjuna. And why Arjuna? Because Arjuna is a devotee and friend. And when Krishna is telling Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, all the devatas are standing and watching carefully because they would want to know that Krishna is talking to his friend. He must be telling some nice secrets, and this is the best way to learn Gita. So they were all waiting, with folded hands, showering flowers, and they were hearing Bhagavad Gita attentively. So let us proceed. So this is about the transcendental knowledge. Second one was who can acquire? Devotee, friend, and the inquiry should be relevant and the instruction should be followed. Now from whom? So I was telling you about the disciplic succession. See here, Krishna gave to Brahma, Brahma gave to Narad Maharishi, and we are in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So the disciplic succession has come forward. There is a big history. You see here, from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasdeva, Madhava, Padmanabha, Narahari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Janasindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhavendra Ishwarpuri, Lord Chaitanya, Rupa, that is Rup Sanatana, Shat Goswami, Raghunath, Jeev Raghunath, Krishna Das, Kaviraj, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Jagannath, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, then Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this knowledge is coming like this. If we are receiving knowledge in this discipline succession, right? Now after Prabhupada, we have various Guru Maharaj of ISKCON. And from Guru Maharaj, all the senior Vaishnavas are learning. And from senior Vaishnavas, we are learning. And we are also learning from Srila Prabhupada by reading his books. We're also learning from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur by reading his books and purports, right? So we are very much familiar with all these personalities here, but there are a lot many other personalities from which this knowledge has come. And the reason why it is making an impact, because it is preached as it is, right? It is not diluted. It is as it is. This is a very, very important point. So Bhagavad Gita is preached as it was preached by Krishna to Brahma. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is taught to us by Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada to us through his books. So there are a lot of small books of Srila Prabhupada. You should have all the books in your house, and each book you can read in 1 week's time. Very, very small books, hardly like 50 to 60 pages. That's it. So these books will give you a lot of knowledge from many scriptures. So yes, so we were talking about parampara. So here Krishna is saying, Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishphala matah. What is the meaning? Any mantra that does not come in the disciplic succession is considered to be fruitless. Therefore, divine individuals will appear in the age of Kali to found disciplic schools The founders of these four Vaishnava Sampradayas are Lakshmi or Sri, Brahma, Rudra, Sanak Rishi. So four prominent Sampradayas are there, and the acharyas of the Kali age who follow their lives will appear in the holy city of Purushottam in Orissa. So if you follow one of these parampara, then it will be very nice. So we are following Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya from Brahmaji. Okay. There is a Sri Sampradaya which is coming from Lakshmi Ji. Okay. Then Rudra Sampradaya is coming from Lord Shiva. And this Chanaka Sampradaya is coming from Chatush Kumar, four Kumaras. Okay. So this is about this parampara. And then why parampara is important. So before we go to that, I will quickly show you the shloka which Prabhupada was mentioning. And we will stop on this point. From whom, right? So who can acquire, we have discussed. From whom we are discussing now, disciplic succession part. Okay. So let me take you back to this shloka. Here Prabhupada has given very elaborate purport. I would like to read it. And you can also read it aramse when you are at home. So let's quickly read it for 2 to 3 minutes. Herein we find the history of Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. So that is why Krishna is giving this knowledge not to any other planet, but to the sun planet, because sun is giving energy to all the planets, right? In order to be able to rule the citizens and protect them from the material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the executive heads of all states and all the planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivaswan, and the king of sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Yas Chakshur Esha Savita Sakul Grahanam Raj Samsata Shura Murti Ashesha Teja Yajjana Brahmati Sambrata Kala Chakro Govinda Madipusham Tamaham Bhajami. Let me worship Lord Brahma said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eyes of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of planets, and the sun god at present of the name Vivashwan rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivashwan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but is a standard book of knowledge coming down from the time immemorial. In Mahabharata, Shanti Parva 348.51 to 52, we can trace out the history of Gita as follows. Treta Yugadayo cha tato Yuvashvanmanve dado Manuscha Loka Brahati Artham Sutra Yekakshvake dado Ikshvaka Ikshvakuna cha kathito Vyapya Lokan Avastitaha. In the beginning of millennium known as Treta Yuga, this science of relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivashwan to Manu. Manu, being father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet, forefather of the Raghu dynasty in which Lord Ramchandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. At present moment, we have passed through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, which lasts 4,32,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapar Yuga, 8 lakh years, and before that, there was Treta Yuga, which is 12 lakh years, and thus some 2.5 million years ago, Manu spoke Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaj Ikshvaku. the king of this planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last some 305,300,000 years, out of which 120,400,000 have passed. Accepting that place of birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivashwan. A rough estimate is that Gita was spoken at least 12 lakh, sorry, 120,400,000 years ago. Okay, I'll stop here because we are left with only 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. So I'll stop here now. Remaining, you can read only little bit is left. I'll stop here for any questions. So you can unmute and ask if you have any questions and anything you want to clarify also. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
you mentioned that Krishna gave the knowledge to Sun God, right? Why Krishna chose Sun God, Prabhuji? You also mentioned that, but I missed that point.
Sure, no problem, Madhuji. Krishna selected sun god because sun is the topmost planet. The sun is the one which gives energy to all the planets. He is the king of all planets. So if the king knows the transcendental knowledge, then king can rule nicely. King can direct direct the kingdom. So that is why the king is represented by sun god. So that is how sun god was selected by Krishna, so that he can further deliver, he can further pass on this knowledge for the benefit of human society. And here also we saw the son Vivashwan, he gave this knowledge to Manu. Manu was the father of mankind. And then Manu gave this knowledge to Ikshvaku. And then Ikshvaku further gave this knowledge. And in the same dynasty, Lord Sri Ram appeared later on.
Knowledge of
Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, because again Krishna gave it to Arjuna, right? That's the reason I was asking.
And there is a reason for that. I mentioned it. So Krishna gave to Arjuna because Krishna gave this knowledge to sun god 12 crore years back. And because such a long time has passed, this disciplic succession was broken in between.
Yes.
So the knowledge
Yes.
was lost, and that is why Krishna again selected Arjuna, because Arjuna is Krishna's friend and Krishna's devotee. That is why he chose Arjuna and gave this knowledge to Arjuna, because he knew that if I give it to my devotee will pass on this knowledge as it is. And that is how we are getting to know about Gita today.
Yeah.
Nice question. Nice question.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, my son was overhearing and he has got one question. Can he ask?
Yes, of course.
His name is Siddharth and he's 16.
Siddharth, what is his age?
16.
Oh, 16 years old. Very intelligent.
Yeah.
Okay, Siddharth, go ahead.
So, Guruji, you specified that there are two, categories of men. One is the devotees and one is the demon. So, do we make a subconscious choice on who we have to be, or has Krishna already, specified that from birth?
Very good question, Siddharth. Yes, so there are two kind of people, demon and devotee. So we don't have any. See, Krishna will not decide that you are going to become demon or you're going to become devotee. So between our our birth and death, B and D, there is something called C.